Welcome to WOW, the Woman of the Week podcast from PharmaVoice. This episode was made possible by a generous sponsorship from eClinical Solutions. For more information, visit eclinicalsol.com. In this episode, Taryn Grome, co-founder and editor-in-chief of PharmaVoice, meets with Katrina Rice, Chief Delivery Officer Data Services at eClinical Solutions.
Katrina, welcome to the WOW podcast program.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here.
We're excited to have you here. Before we dig into your career journey, everything, I want to ask you about your title, which I have not heard before, Chief Delivery Officer, Data Services. Tell me what this means and what it means in terms of your role at eClinical Solutions. And by the way, congratulations on your recent promotion.
Thank you so much for that. So my role as a Chief Delivery Officer at Data Services is to ensure that we deliver a scalable, global, enterprise-wide services to our clients with respect to our data management, biostatistics services. And in addition, that includes maximizing the technologies that we use, which would include our own clinical data analytics platform, which is Illuminate, and any of the other products that we use to deliver our services. So I'm all operationally responsible to ensure that I deliver, that I scale a team of individuals that will deliver these services with the highest quality at an enterprise level, combining our services around our data management and stats, as I noted, with our technologies.
Katrina, I think you're starting a trend. I love the fact that you are a Chief Delivery Officer. That is truly unique, and I think that it really speaks to what your mission is. It's fantastic. Tell me a little bit about your career journey that led you to your current role. Obviously, you have a ton of skill sets that have gotten you to this position.
So just starting back in my journey, I don't know if you can actually tell, but I am a Southerner at heart. So I was born and raised in Huntsville, Alabama, and went to a historically Black college and institution, which I'm very proud of, and just have a degree, master's degree actually in computer science. So I always known from a little girl that I was a technical type person. Really started my career done through college, just was able to do a number of internships, really being a programmer, which of course is unique and different, especially for a woman of color to have that background and really be focused on programming. So my career really started, I worked for the government. So I worked for a government contractor, the Department of Energy, where I was a programmer, a database programmer actually for a group of PhD chemical engineers, which was very, very unique and different, especially starting my career, a young college student, and you're working with these very, very highly scientific skilled chemical engineers, which is a very difficult engineer. And I was their programmer. So I did all types of database programming for them. And I would say myself quite good. Interesting enough, not to toot my own horn, but I used to write programs for some of the guys in my class. So hence tell you that women can be great programmers as well. So career kind of started there. So I spent a number of years. I actually was an intern for the government before I actually had the opportunity to move into life sciences. And just the thinking around, I don't know who told me, but just to think that you never stay at your first job after college for more than 5 years. Someone just told me that and it stuck in my head. So after spending like 5 years there, I figured, hey, it's time for me to look and find something new. So I started to put my resume out there and apply everywhere. And I had my desire of where I wanted to go because I was actually living in Tennessee. I had my desire where I wanted to go, which was actually to move to Texas because I had this desire. I love Texas. It's hot all the time. The food is great. But I guess that wasn't the direction for me. So I actually had a recruiter who contacted me about a position at Bayer Healthcare Pharmaceuticals here in Connecticut, which is where I still reside. And so the first thing that came to my thought and mind was, number one, I don't think African Americans live in Connecticut because me being a Southerner did not have a thought that many African Americans lived in Connecticut. So that was definitely interesting to find that wasn't true. So I had an opportunity, and a young couple at that time was married, had a very young son, and there actually I went up for an interview, and before I was getting back in my cab to go home, the recruiter called me and they wanted to make me an offer. So that was a lot to think about, career changing, not only to move, being a Southerner, to move from the South to the Northeast, which I knew nothing about and had no family, but to take this position because I was just a programmer. I had no experience in life sciences and clinical trials and none of that, but I was a great programmer. So I actually took the opportunity to move to Connecticut with my very young family, no relatives for almost 16, 18 hours away. And that's where I kind of started. That's how I started into the journey. I became a programmer at Bayer and learned so much about the industry, had great mentors, continued to be a really, really seasoned programmer, and my career kind of progressed from that time. After a while, had been at Bayer for about 10 years, was not looking. Actually, I was settled and felt like that's where my home was. And then I had to offer another recruiter. Someone had told them about me, and I had worked on some system deployments for the metadata application at Bayer. And at that time, eClinical was looking to start this unit in the division. And I was given an opportunity. Recruiter told me about it and said, hey, this is a small new company. They're growing. This is exciting. You'll get a chance to make your mark and actually grow. And so I said, hey, why not? So I, talked it over and said, hey, I'm young and why not? And so I've been at eClinical, and my career has progressed at eClinical, starting with a very, very small growing organization to where we are now. So that's kind of progression of my career.
Katrina, that's two huge big leaps. One to Bayer and then one to eClinical. Mm-hmm. Where did you get what's the right word, gumption, faith, courage to do that? Because it's not easy just to pick up your life and move halfway across the country to a place you don't know, to a job you don't know. I mean, where did you get that resilience from?
I ultimately think it's always kind of being told in your life you can't. And I tend to be a person who actually have a hard time with people telling me what I can do anyway, and to especially almost tell me that I won't succeed. So for me, it's a little bit of competition. I'm a risk taker somewhat, I think, at heart, to say I tend to kind of get, I would say, somewhat bored. So I do and I actually like challenge. So I tend to be a person who will get bored fast and actually like a little bit of life challenge. And for me, it was and I believe and truly have, I think your gut, when people say that it's your gut, my gut, I feel very good about, and it hasn't led me wrong. And my gut was telling me those were the right times in my life to try and make a change and make a difference. And I truly believe that, just from how I was raised, that I have a responsibility to others. Others are looking at me. So it's some little African-American girl sitting somewhere who was probably told that she couldn't or she can't do something. So I have a responsibility to say, yeah, you can. So I truly believe that for me, it's about, taking a chance in life and being okay to step out. And I like to say step out on faith and be resilient in it.
That's amazing. And I love that step out in faith. And as you said, you are, an example and a role model for other women and other women of color. And that is a mantle of responsibility that some people aren't always comfortable with, but it appears that you have some pretty big shoulders and you're okay to carry that. And what does that mean to you?
So it actually means a huge amount. I do not take it lightly, that my responsibility to many, and I would say I have a responsibility, of course, first and foremost to myself, to actually do the absolute best I can and pick myself up, even if I need to pivot or I fail. It's no concept of staying down. I was just raised that way. Second, I truly believe we have a moral responsibility to give back. And giving back, a lot of times we think about in terms of even financial giving or sometimes just time giving, but I also think of mentoring, coaching, and responsibility, social demonstration that we're supposed to give back to others to show others that it is possible, that I understand your struggle, and look, if I can do it, you are more than fit to do it. And then we have responsibility to help those do it. And so for me, yeah, it's big shoulders to fill, but I think just morally, that's my responsibility, is to carry that. And that's the way I was raised. I'm actually a middle child. So for many people who understand, if you are a middle child, that it's always, you're always trying to find your way. And I remember I was telling my mother, who's unfortunately deceased now, I remember telling her, I'm trying to find my place in this family, right? Because you're not the oldest, you're surely not the baby that everybody's known. And in my family, my older sister just needed to run everything, and my mother positioned her to lead. And then my younger sister, hey, you know, she's the baby. Everybody is just adoring her. And so for me, it was trying to really find my place. And I think that also drove me to be, hey, you know what? I'm going to show you, I'm going to take my place, right? So I'm not going to allow you to define what my place is. So that somewhat, I really believe, has molded me, because you tend, if you're, I want to be in control. So for me to take my place in society, in my career, in my job, that's me. So that's why I'm confident to do that, because I always felt like I didn't know what my place was in the family. But then when I got the gumption and energy, I said, okay, you don't have to tell me, I'm going to just take it.
I love that, to take your place and not have somebody define what your place is, and to figure all that out. You're quite remarkable. You know, and I'm going to go back to our part of your earlier conversation, was your choice of career, which was unusual for a woman. Let's face it, there just aren't a lot of women in technology still today. And so you must often find yourself as one of the only ones in the room who looks like you. How do you figure that out in terms of taking your place at the table? And how has that led you to navigating your career? Because it's not easy.
Absolutely. And it's still not easy. Just you always find like you're trying to define yourself, you're trying to prove that you're worthy. And for me, what drove my direction, because I actually initially went to college, and I have a cousin who I totally admired. So I had a cousin, and she was a marketing major, and she was beautiful, and she had this graduated, she had this great job. And for me, as a young girl, you always look, that's who you're looking up to. And so I initially started in college to say I was gonna major in marketing, because I'm saying, and I know those at my company who are in marketing would never believe I was originally thinking I was going to be a marketing major. But I actually thought I would be a marketing major, because I looked for this person and she was incredible to me and she had everything. And I was thinking, hey, that's exactly what I wanted to do. When I started taking some of the classes, again, my gut, it wasn't there. And I trust my gut. I didn't have it in my gut. I wasn't excited about. And as you hear me speak, it's very obvious when I'm excited about something. So I wasn't excited about it. So I had to actually have my advisor. Actually, he was the one who told me, I don't think this is what you should be doing. You seem to be a technical person. You like to solve things. You tend to want a lot of change. And I think you should actually look at trying either engineering field or computers. So he was the one who noticed. And that's why I really feel your gut and what you radiate. People will see that in you, and those will tell you, guide your footsteps. Like I have to say, he was the one who actually said, I think you need to look into that. I think that's going to be more fitting for where, and I actually did good in some of the classes, of course, but it didn't bring that wow factor to what I was feeling. And so I looked at both of them, and I just decided, I said, hey, let me try the computer science. Because it wasn't just a computer programming. If you think about it, has a science in it. And so it was a little bit more beyond just being a straight programmer. It had the strategy, it had theory behind it. And so that was all the things that kind of drove me. So that's how I actually ended up going into that field. And once I did, it was like, what have I been doing? I just, like, that was it for me. And actually had a wonderful experience. And again, as I tell you, and most, I would never call names, but most people would never realize I programmed and wrote programs for some of the males in my program. I would help them write their programs for homework. So, hey, so women can't do it.
That's hilarious. And you obviously have a passion for it because you can hear it in your voice, you can hear it in your enthusiasm. So that has taken you all the way through to where you are now. And I'd love to talk to you about what are some of the hot trends you're tracking right now related to e-clinical services. And there's a lot of buzz out now about AI, machine learning, but also decentralized clinical trials. What is it that you're looking at?
Absolutely, great question. So what let me phrase it. What's keeping me excited about being at eClinical? All right, and how and what we're doing in the industry. As you can see, I take control, so I kind of reshape your question. I hope you're okay with that. But what is making me excited about the direction and what we're doing at eClinical? So just a little bit about the history. We started more as a service company. When I joined eClinical, we were a service company. We were delivering data management, biostats. We were delivering those services, and we were using the metadata platform, which I had, again, deployed at Bayer. So more service-driven organization have been successful at that. Definitely saw the need that there was a need in the market to have a product such as our product that we have now, which is our Illuminate Clinical Analytics Hub. So clearly it was just conversion to say, we're great, we know the data, but now it's still missing in the market some technology. And that's how we kind of grown up and spun our Illuminate product. So why am I excited? Why do I still stay at eClinical now nearly after 12 years, which is still a long, got a bit of time in these days to be at a company? Is because of our product and our services. So being in an organization where I have the opportunity to not only just influence, my primary responsibility is the data services and making sure we can deploy that, but also having insight and being able to help mold and shape our product. So it's hot. We have a product, great product, and we have great services, and we're like bringing those together for our clients. Right, so that they can actually make sure that they can run and execute their clinical studies, as well as once they've executed those clinical studies, how do they have insights into their data across their studies. And if any of us have been keeping up with everything in industry with the pandemic actually exposed the importance to actually have a great platform that you can actually look at all your clinical data in one area, as well as execution of services from people to your processes and technologies to make sure that you can get your drugs to market faster and be able to make business decisions. So that's what's happening. That's what's exciting me about still being at eClinical, because I feel I have an opportunity. I'm not limited to saying I just have to do the data services, again, my primary responsibility, but I do have insight and I have the opportunity to shape how our product is going, and then how my people, my team, not just our clients, but our own teams use our products to actually expedite and actually give this, I would say, innovation and real-time ability for our clients to get their drugs to market. So that is really what's happening at eClinical, is we're growing very fast, both of these business units, and making sure that we can pivot and we can continue to grow with the market. Make sense?
Well, yes, kudos to you all and all the great work that you're doing there at eClinical Solutions, and finding that way to make the journey better for patients, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right? And so obviously, again, you can hear your passion in what you're doing and how you are changing the trajectory of the industry, which is so important. And it is time for innovation. The pandemic, as you said, has exposed so many areas where where improvement is needed, and that certainly is one of them. Talk to me a little bit about your leadership style. And I know you like to take control. We've established that. So, but I can't imagine that's how you lead your teams, because you also have a very empathetic nature. So talk to me about how you develop your teams and how you lead your teams.
Great question. And so I would say from a leadership, definitely as you have identified, my leadership style is to drive to results, as well as provide that supportive nature for that growth and innovation of the teams, and as well as being comfortable with the difficult times that will come up and how do you grow and shape a team to that. Being that we are still we have services, any service driven organization, that mode that we have to lead in and we have to is really more of a consulting mode. So really being able to assess a situation and look at and provide recommendations based on data driven why and justify why we should be doing something, or why we should recommend for our clients to do something. And that same style has to come, what I've seen has to come when it comes to employees, right? So really to actually give them an environment where they can feel that they can actually be empowered to drive while maintaining that ability for them to come to you for your coaching and your support. And again, being in a service organization is always this fine line of being overly accommodating and just doing whatever a client wants, as opposed to being consultant and really helping the guide. And I find that same leadership style has to happen, especially with our employees, and especially with, for me, I'm still growing. I'm still learning as a leader that this evolution of the millennials and how they work and what they need is actually really stretching me and stretching my style, because I've been doing this for a while. Even though if you see me, you can't tell, you'll still think I'm 20s. But being able to stretch that and allow teams to feel that they are empowered to drive, but still keeping a pulse where you can give them that oversight and support. And I like to think about, let them go far enough until if you see them tipping or about to fall, you be there to pull them back. So that tends to be me. And I'm a hands-on. I'm a hands-on manager. I love the points when my team call me and say, what do you think about this? Give me what would you do in this situation? So those are the relationships that I'm really continuing to work and grow with my team, is to, kind of develop that. And it's not easy, because I do have a dominating style. I do have, as you can tell, my tone. I'm really passionate about things. And sometimes that passion is taken in a way that is not in the best light, but I'm still working through that.
Well, I think that's amazing, first of all, and that you acknowledge the fact that you still have things to work on. Not a lot of leaders will be that vulnerable with us. And so I think that really is a testament to your personality as well as your DNA, and showing who you are as a person, and very authentic. It's very inspiring. Let's go back a little bit. I know obviously we talked about you being a role model, and I know you also are an advocate for mentoring and sponsorship, which is obviously different than the mentoring. Those are really important to you. You're an active participant in several organizations, such as the Healthcare Businesswomen's Association and Women of Color in Pharma. And you're also a member of Chief of a private network for women in senior leadership. Tell me about these organizations and what they provide to you and what you provide to them.
So I absolutely think it is continuously important to be engaged with outside groups of like-minded people. Because again, as long as we continue to live, we need to grow and we need to evolve. And I feel you can learn something from so much diverse organization and diverse people. So for me, for these organizations, it's really important for me to just keep abreast of what's happening out there in market. And you hear a lot, to keep abreast of what women are truly doing in industry and market and how they're reshaping, because we have some amazing women that in all sectors of industry and sectors of life. And I just feel like to hear those stories and to be a part And I'd like to see be amongst the power that people bring. It's just so incredible and even more inspiring to me to actually hear and be a part of these organizations. So really what I get is more, I don't feel I'm giving a huge amount. I feel I'm getting so much from being in the presence of so many like-minded women, so many powerful women. And then when you're engaging, sometimes when you're going through, and when I'm going through difficult situations and hear things and having potentially always done something, to hear someone else's story and to hear that you're not a misfit and it's not just you, that others have went down that path and this is how they recover, I think are more encouraging to me. And at this point in my career, what I need a lot of is for people that have walked that journey, and it still are, and how have they kind of adjusted to it and tailored themselves so that they can continue to be inspiring and motivating to others. So very important. I'm really excited about being a member of Chief. I just recently last year became a member, and all I can just say is that it has just been an incredible experience to go through these sessions with my cohort and hearing again, meeting women in different sectors and hearing similar stories and having a group that I can confide in, and they hold me accountable for things that I've said I'm going to do, and then I'll be open and come back and vulnerable that I haven't done it, and they're coaching me. So it's been incredible, as well as to use all the resources. So Chief always has incredible speakers that are presenting and giving tips. So that's been really encouraging at this point in my career.
That's awesome. And it shows the importance of a network, and not in that typical sense of networking, but having a network of trusted colleagues, advisors, your own personal board of directors, if you will, who can help guide you to that next stage of your career, or to even help you implement what you want to do at this stage of your career, as you noted. So crucial and so important. And it also gives you those insights to help other women and widen the path for those to follow behind you, which is really important as well. And it goes back to that mantle of being a role model.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Excellent. So let's talk about what we need to do as an industry to widen the path for other women, and particularly women of color. What can we do better? What should we do more of? What should we stop doing?
Great questions. So the first thing I would say what we can do to widen is to be at the places that these women of color are. So on too many times when you hear companies and you're talking about networking or interviewing or recruiting events, being, again, proud alumni of a historically Black college and institution. And it was the best decision in my life to make that decision to attend, to be in an environment where people look like me and we have a group of people who care about and wanting to make sure that we succeed. So one thing that I think first needs to start is for us to be open and honest. How many companies are even going to those colleges and university recruiting, which has those people? So how can you recruit if you're not where the people are? So you need to go to where the people are, open up your minds on where you're going to get educated African American women. Where are they sitting? A lot of those are at historical Black colleges and institutions. Our first vice president, our vice president of the United States, that's where she came from. So to go to those places, I think that's the first thing that we can do. The second is to drop our stereotypes on what a lot of people have about African American women. That just because some are, and I'm not the only one, a number, that we are confident, we're going to be authentic, we're going to speak with authority, that shouldn't be fearful, and we shouldn't be stereotyped for that. And being okay and confident to say that, yeah, we have some women in the sciences areas that are incredible, that can bring you what you're looking for. So one, I think being open to really, we talk about diversity and inclusion, but as an industry, what are we doing to really make that change? The talk sounds good, but when the rubber meets the road, let's look at the numbers and the data. So I would say first going to where they are and giving some an opportunity. I think back and I'm so grateful and so passionate that a little girl from Huntsville, Alabama was given an opportunity to come into this industry, right? Someone saw something and the person who made me an offer, he did not look like me. He was a male and he was a white male, but he felt something in me. He saw something in me that he was willing to give me a chance. And I would say that's what we should be looking for in our industry, is to go to where people are, give them those opportunities, and drop the stereotypes that just because you're going to see it, you have to. I've told you my story where my confidence and why my take control has come from. Remember, we all have a story, and some of the ways that you see that doesn't need to be fearful. It means to be, hey, you have someone who is a driver who's confident in what they're doing. So giving them an opportunity.
I think that is tremendous advice, and what great insights into where we are now and where we need to get to. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. What pieces of advice do you have to other women in the field? Something you wish you had known sooner that you know now?
Something I wish that someone would have told me and prepared me for was that it wasn't going to be easy, and how do you pivot and work around that? Because it really, I'm extremely grateful and so excited about my career, and I've been so blessed to where I've come and what I'm attempting to do, and so excited about other future state things that I have on my, if you want to say, my bucket list. But maybe if I would actually say is for someone to reach out to those who've set the path, which I don't feel I did, and wish someone had told me, is to build that network, that you have others, and be just as bold to reach out to maybe someone you don't even know, to ask their expertise and their advice on how they would deal with situations. Because I do feel, I wish I had known that, hey, you being a great programmer is not enough, right? It's other things that you need to hone in on, and it's almost like someone that can walk you through maybe this path and how to deal with it. I wish someone, and it wasn't maybe that, maybe I would look back and say I probably didn't do a good job. I didn't build this network and engage myself probably into a number of organizations where like-minded women that have been around. I just didn't engage myself because I don't feel I focused enough on that. I focused more on, the true business, the industry part, learning and being this guru that I was attempting to try to be, not to say I am at all, and not that building this network and getting involved in these industry network groups and even social, groups that have powerful women that can help you. So my advice would be that is just as important as building this career that you're trying to do.
I think that's great advice. I hear that quite often. Heads down, doing your job, getting to that next level. All of that is so important, but along the way, sometimes it gets lost in gathering that network and building those relationships, because those are what will sustain you through the rest of your career. And not only from a business perspective, but from a personal perspective. Trusted colleagues and just people who enrich your life, that it's well worth the time and the investment.
Absolutely.
And as we round out here, and because this is our WOW podcast program, I would like for you to narrow down, if you can, to one accomplishment or one thing that changed your career trajectory and that created that wow moment for you that has left a lasting impression on you.
So if I think about it's been a number of wow moments in my life. And some of those definitely have come professionally. It's many of those that have came personally for things that I've done and worked on in the community. But I would say the one thing, the wow that is from a career perspective, as being starting early days and working at eClinical and seeing a department grow And when we actually started the department, I actually had maybe 8 people of that. But once I saw the number of people and the growth hit over 100, it was something in my heart. And as well as when I saw that first revenue number hit from, the 6 digits to the 8, that was personally for me that wow, that actually showed me that look at the impact. And those were things I could directly point that I had some impact to. I didn't have all, but I had a huge amount of responsibility and impact to seeing that. So that was a wow factor in me to actually see and to be a part of an organization, to see grow from very small organization to where we are now, and to see those numbers hit and see that team grow. It actually was really, I think I can define that was my wow moment, because I know, and even at points in my career, at points in my life during this position, I didn't believe I could actually have a part and help grow. And I'm quite sure it was others who didn't have that faith or belief that I could. So to actually see that was that wow factor.
I'm wowed by that. I think that is a tremendous moment and a tremendous accomplishment. And I can see that you're going to have many more wow moments. If we have this conversation again in 2 or 3 years, you'll have even a bigger wow moment. So congratulations to you again on your recent promotion. And thank you so much for sharing your insights on such a wide variety of topics and being so authentic. Thank you so much. It was delightful to meet you, Katrina, and I wish you all the best and much more success ahead.
Thank you so much. And I sincerely appreciate you even thinking I was worthy to be a part of the podcast. So thank you so much, and good work and great luck on your future success.
More than worthy. You have a seat at the table, my friend. You have a seat at the table.
Thank you for listening to this episode of WOW, the Woman of the Week podcast. And thanks to eClinical Solutions for making this episode possible. For more information, visit eclinicalsol.com. And don't forget to check out our other WOW episodes at pharmavoice.com/wow. This 2021 program is copyrighted by PharmaLinks LLC.